I believe Trump is a compromise to America's foreign interests and our European interests, as well as the world decoupling from the petrodollar. I believe Putin will use sweet nothings to speak loving words of Trump in their meetings in order to compromise Trump in the Russian Arctic. Trump has it with Exxon that they're going to control the petrodollar through Russian Arctic energy into Western Europe, into India, and China. That's Exxon ambition, and the rest of Trump administration is going to be geared towards making backroom deals for Trump to get rich off this type of fossil fuels. So I'm for OPEC plus one decoupling totally from the petrodollar, the world hegemonic petrodollar, in order to phase in the multipolar economical order. So Trump shouldn't be allowed to have any Arctic energy. And Trump, he's going to try to. He's going to try, and Putin is going to compromise him by promising sweet nothings for his fourth year, his whole entire fourth year in his second administration. As far as Trump, he's going to be gullied. He's going to be tripped. He's going to be buffoonically deceived because Putin is a savvy intel officer. Lifelong, he knows how to manipulate. And he's going to praise Trump and adore Trump. He's going to speak sweet nothings into his ear in backroom deals. He's going to promise Trump the world. And Trump is going to think that he has the world in the palm of his hand. But in reality, OPEC plus one is already setting the essential processes to decouple from the world hegemonic currency. Because not one nation should rule over the world and colonize the whole world to its currency and keep the world floating gasoline just to prop up the greenback. And Putin knows 100% how I feel about the situation. As well as the globe realized that they don't want to be enslaved by America's currency. But Trump is going to be the last one to know because he's a dim-witted gully. He's indolent by not having foresight. So Putin is going to try to make Trump into a mark. And he's going to promise him, oh, yes, I'll give you Exxon contracts again. Y'all can come back into the Russian Arctic. And Trump thinks that he's going to supply Western Europe through Ukraine with pipelines that Exxon wants to control. And then Trump thinks he's going to flood energy into India and China, which is a fantasy. Because China, India, and Russia doesn't want this hegemonic currency controlling the global south or the global east or dominating the west for that matter with the petrodollar. But Trump thinks in his head that he's going to maintain the world order as America's sole superpower. He's going to make it he wants to stand in the way of letting all nations be permanent members. He thinks that he's going to keep the world pegged to America's currency and that he's going to float gasoline to the day he dies to the rest of the world. So I feel Trump is the most dim-witted leader that ever stood in the Oval Office. But that's not going to stop Putin from using his craft on him, on Trump, and to gully him again once and for all. He's going to be gullied. I can't help it. From my point of view, I can't help it if Trump is stupid. Remember when Trump went to 2018 to visit Putin on the summit, and Putin gave him a soccer ball? He was setting him up to invade Ukraine for the second time. And Trump said in that summit, holding the soccer ball, I have no reason to trust that what he's telling me is not right. In other words, I don't believe my own intel. I believe Putin. That he promised me he's not going to invade. And Trump stood holding a soccer ball. So Putin is going to make a sucker of him again, because Trump is blinded for wealth. He's blinded. He doesn't see. He's blurred. All he sees is dollar signs for this petro hegemony over the world. You know, he's blinded, and there's no correcting it. He's blind for life. He's a pure snake or venomous snake, like Rockefeller's father. He's a grift. He's a con artist. He's an expert at venom remedies of snake oil. And Putin is going to use that. India is going to use that to their advantage by flunking Trump. And Europe doesn't want Trump anywhere as far as supplying Western Europe with energy that they know is not going to work when it comes to this Exxon ambition to keep the world pegged to the world currency. And in my opinion, this demonic hegemonic currency needs to be abolished once and for all. Because you got gullied idiot leaders like Trump that think that one nation can enslave the whole world to our currency and keep the world pegged and hostage to our currency to consume gasoline. And if the world doesn't want to consume dollars of gasoline throughout the world, we're going to tariff them and sanction them to death, like Trump is trying to extort the world to control this type of hegemonic currency. So I got a feeling that he will always fall prey to Putin. There's no correcting this dim-witted indolent that you in America, or that we in America call J. Donald Trump. Because I live in America, so I know, in the shadows, I know how dim-witted this guy is. So Putin is going to promise him, in return for peace, that he will let Exxon come in under the Trump administration. Trump thinks that he will control Russian Arctic Exxon energy into Western Europe, into India and China. But the multipolar world, 100% will liberate themselves from the greenback. But Trump will be the last one to know. He's dim-witted. He's gullied. He doesn't understand clean, renewable energies, at least what I'm doing with the multipolar world order. And working with OPEC plus one to liberate the world from enslavement of one nation enslaving the world to gasoline with tyrannical leaders that are gluttony of greed like Trump. But I think that Trump can't be helped. He suffers from never-ending greed and ambition. And I will warn Putin, watch laying down in bed with Trump too much, because he will try to overturn you and cause a rebellion and uprising and topple you in order to put a puppet in the Kremlin, in order to covet your Arctic energy. So if I was you, Putin, don't walk into a trap neither. Don't never invite Exxon into the Russian Arctic again. If Trump stipulated, you tell him no go. Absolutely not. You understand? He's gonna try to act like, okay, we can open up deals again. But the CIA is gonna try to overthrow the Russian Federation with an uprising, a rebellion to overthrow the Russian foreign affairs in order to keep the world enslaved to the petrodollar. They're going to try to covet your Russian Arctic and try to prop up the greenback that way with impunity. So if I was you, I will watch your steps, Putin. Don't utter any type of deals to Trump about the Russian Arctic. Because I'm at the head of the line to decouple the world from enslavement when it comes to this hegemonic ambition of America to keep the 5 permanent members frozen in the United Nations in order for America to prop itself up as an imperial power over the rest of the world and keep the world enslaved to our currency so we could prop up a stock exchange while the rest of the world is enslaved? Putin, let me warn you, not to be a sucker or gullied. I'm for OPEC plus one with the new economic multipolar order. And I'm for liberating the world against this greed and ambition of America and their obsession with controlling the world with impunity. So it's very important that the world free themselves from one nation controlling the gasoline supply of the world through their one hegemonic currency like America has. And America plans to veto any attempt to let all the assembly members become permanent members in the United Nations Security Council because America wants to maintain a monopoly status on the world order. So for that reason, I will warn Putin to guard the Russian Arctic because Trump and America will put pressure on the shadow forces of Europe to try to covet the Russian Arctic in order for Western Europe to have access to that energy. But the Eurozone doesn't want to be enslaved by the petrodollar because Europe doesn't also, like I said, refuses to be enslaved by this petrodollar as a hegemonic currency of America. So Europe is not even supporting Trump in this effort because they don't want to be enslaved to America. The Western Europe, Eurozone or NATO doesn't want to be enslaved. They want to charter their own path with the multipolar world order. So in my opinion, the United Nations Assembly should vote to push America's veto power or any other 5 members' veto powers and allow all nations to be permanent members of the Security Council. And that all nations should decouple from America's petrodollar as the world reserve currency or as the world's global currency. Every nation should be decoupled from the greenback. And as far as the multipolar world order, you got to study my economical theories to understand the complexities of my theologies to reform the global economy and to phase in the new global multipolar world order and everything that comes when it comes to transforming this nation to meet the urgent needs of reforming the United Nations to adapt the world into a clean, safer world and a responsible world. When it comes to clean, renewable energies and the infrastructure globally of clean, renewable energies for the rest of the world, and especially liberation from enslavement from this petrodollar that America is obsessed with, that has to be eradicated. And if America thinks that they're going to maintain their monopoly with their veto power to be the world's sole superpower, that also has to be eradicated. Every nation on earth has the right to their freedoms and liberties and their justice when it comes to their sovereign countries, and that for that reason, all nations should have their permanent member seats as permanent member countries within the United Nations Security Council. And I'm here leading the revolution in this effort.